It's time to tune in to our TV roundup. Next up is a new series premiering on Fox called Alcatraz, which is executive produced by J.J. Abrams. Dennis, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Alcatraz is a one-hour drama. It's a police procedural / science fiction mystery. It's a two-hander, starring Sarah Jones as San Francisco police detective Rebecca Madsen and Jorge Garcia as Dr. Diego Soto, an Alcatraz expert and scholar.
302 men disappeared that night. They were never seen or heard from again. Until now.
The premise of the show is really funky. In 1963, they closed down Alcatraz because it was run down and decrepit. But that's not the real reason they closed it down.
Apparently.
Apparently, the premise in this show is that in 1963, all the prisoners and the guards in one night just disappeared. And now, in present day, the prisoners are starting to show up again one by one. And not just that alone is weird, but that there's some sort of nefarious, unknown individual who's driving the prisoners to murder people for reasons unknown. And the FBI has to stop them from having a murder spree, essentially.
Jack Sylvain was just the beginning.
They're all coming back.
All of them.
The secret of America's most infamous prison
What happened to you, Jack?
I only did what they told me.
What, who told you?
will finally be unlocked.
You knew this was gonna happen. You've been waiting for this.
Well, this show has got Bad Robot written all over it.
J.J.
you
Abrams
know?
company.
It's got this very interesting blend of the episodic procedural with the serialized kind of science fiction mystery.
Supernatural.
Yeah. It's more of a science fiction kind of bent in this particular case. So it kind of follows in the footsteps of Alias and especially Fringe. In fact, it's so much like Fringe, I'd call it almost kind of a sister show. Every show lives and dies on the strengths of its characters. I've said it many times. And this show has some good characters. So in Alcatraz, you have Sarah Jones playing the police detective, and she's good, she's attractive, of course. She has some spunk, but really what makes the character more attractive is that she's got this great buddy relationship with Jorge Garcia from Lost, who is the scholar. And
He's a scholar of Alcatraz.
Of Alcatraz specifically. They kind of strike this friendship right from the bat. And Sam Neill, who's a great actor, whom I love, he does this really good, you don't know, is he menacing? What's his hidden agenda? He's kind of the head of this task force.
Right, the task force that's meant to stop these murders from happening.
I don't know if I share your enthusiasm.
Oh.
I mean, it feels like a skeleton of a great show, and I really thought that it needed more flesh. You were talking about the characters, and I thought that they were a little bit underdeveloped. I wanted to know more about them. I wanted to know their inner life, particularly with our main character, Rebecca. You know, we have a sense that she wants to go through with this case because she wants to know more about her backstory. There's this mystery going on with her grandfather and everything.
Yes.
But we don't know why she wants to go through that in relation to what her character is like now.
I agree with you in that if there is a weak link among the character chain in Alcatraz, it's got to be the Madsen character.
Which is no fault of Sarah Jones, because I actually think she's strong in playing the role. I do have a couple of questions about the show, and it's not just related to the content about what's going to happen, but more how things are going to be structured, because there's some conventions that this episode in particular sets up that I'm curious to see if this is something that they're going to continue with. They have flashbacks that take you back to, you know, the early, was it the 50s?
60s.
60s.
Early 60s.
They take you back to the
where everyone
60s, and we
disappears.
see, you know, the life of some of the characters in Alcatraz itself. And going further with that, is this going to be a case of the week kind of procedural show where there'll be a new prisoner that resurfaces in present day, and then we're going to follow that?
That seems to be clearly what they're going after. You know, they're going to have the escape prisoner of the week, right? Where somebody shows up, and then they're going to have flashbacks to establish who this guy was, why he was there. So there's lots going on. I can see how those flashbacks can be very effective for this show.
Well, I don't think we get enough information from the pilot to really know if it's going to be specifically episodic, because this felt much more like a serialized show to me. I mean, I think that's something that we're going to have to wait and see on, maybe watch a couple more episodes and get a stronger sense of it. But.
Right. I actually think it's going to be a hybrid, and the reason for that is that...
like Fringe.
Yeah, like Fringe. I think that you're going to have the prisoner of the week, or maybe a guard. They'll probably intersperse a guard suddenly showing up, which will be really interesting. But there'll be something that's going going to happen that you'll have to keep track of because you have that sinister force that's driving all of these prisoners to do their bidding. And that's going to kind of build on what the motivation of that sinister force is, and maybe who they are, and how all of this came to be. So I think it's going to be more than that. I think you're going to get little pieces of the puzzle as part of the general enclosing of each episode. For me, the casting, I think, is pitch perfect. I love Sam Neill. Like you mentioned a little bit earlier, he's the head of the FBI task force. He obviously is keeping a lot of secrets. It's very clear to that. And Madsen knows that, and she's got to try to figure out how to work with him because the three of them are going to work together. And clearly he's the one that knows the most and has revealed the least.
Well, guys, I'm running out of beer, so let's just take it to a vote.
All right. I love the mythology on the show, and that's enough for me to give it a see it.
Well, I think Alcatraz is a little undercooked, but it's digestible, and ultimately I think Bad Robot is enough here for me to say stream it.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but Bad Robot's had great success with Fringe and other shows like this, so I say stick around and see it.
All right, well that looks like 2.5 tickets for the new Fox series Alcatraz, which is a see it.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Outstanding. Cheers. Yay.
See it? And you spilled your pumpkin
I'll
martini.
tell you I've had enough.